reaction pouring in tonight. This is to Mayor Mamdani's controversial proposal to raise property taxes by 9.5%.
Fox 8's Morgan McKay is live in Melrose, Queens. Morgan, you spoke with the City Council Speaker about this. What does she have to say?
Hey, Bianca, Natasha. So City Council Speaker Julie Menin telling us today that raising property taxes is not even an option that the council will consider right now. The speaker was here in Queens at a separate event and said that she's been bombarded with messages from people who are concerned about the mayor's property tax proposal that would hike property taxes by 9.5%. Mayor Zoran Mamdani yesterday argued that there are only two ways to fill the city's $5.4 billion budget gap. Either state lawmakers increase taxes on millionaires and corporations, or he will raise property taxes in the city. But Speaker Menin says she disagrees that there are only these two options, pointing to areas that the city can cut costs or find savings. And she's not the only one. Mamdani facing fierce backlash even from some of his supporters over his strategy to create pressure on the state legislature by threatening to raise property taxes. Menin was asked if she supports raising taxes on millionaires and corporations, and without weighing in, pointed to how the governor has already made clear that this isn't an option. Menin says the council should focus on what's possible.
The governor has made clear that she is not raising taxes. So with that said, we think we need to really focus on saving. We cannot be raising property taxes on the backs of small property owners, on the backs of renters, on the back of small businesses. That will worsen the affordability crisis. So that is clearly off the table for us.
Now, at the same time that Mamdani is considering a significant property tax hike, today he also moved to appoint 6 members to the Rent Guidelines Board, giving him essentially majority control to deliver a rent freeze for rent-stabilized apartments. The Rent Guidelines Board is technically an independent body in charge of determining rent adjustments for rent-stabilized apartments, but Mamdani on the campaign trail made clear that he would appoint members who agree with his rent freeze. However, today, possibly in light of his property tax hike proposal, Mamdani seemed to tamp down on his campaign message by emphasizing that the board is an independent body.
I continue to believe that this city's more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants deserve a rent freeze. We cannot respond to a crisis by simply rotating who suffers from it. And of course, I also understand that the RGB is an independent board, and they will consider all of the evidence. We are working to lower costs for property owners across the city. As I have said, the question of raising property taxes is that of last resort.
Now, both Mamdani and Menin today emphasizing that this is just a start of budget negotiations. The council and the mayor must come to a finalized budget deal by July 1st. Reporting live from Queens, I'm Morgan McKay. Bianca, Natasha, back to you.